What's going on today, YouTube? Happy Tuesday, Rob here. Today I'm going to be doing another deck profile for you. This one is my personal Blue Eyes deck. I started building this before COVID happened as I was trying to get back into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I wanted to basically build something that I was already familiar with. So I went with a Blue Eyes build. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope this gives you a bit of a base as to what you could do with Blue Eyes as a deck choice. Before we get started, though, I would like to say that if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing for more fun content and turning on that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, let's get into this Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile. So first off, we're obviously going to start with Triple Blue Eyes. He is the namesake of the deck, and a lot of plays in this deck revolve around Blue Eyes in terms of being on the field and in your deck. So again, 3 Blue Eyes to maximize your plays and your combos. And then we have another 3 copies of Alternative White Dragon. This is also another must because of the fact that Alternative is easily summonable by just revealing a Blue Eyes from your hand. So it's an easy way to get a monster out on the field. And basically, if you're running 3 of him and 3 Blue Eyes, you can just use it just as a bit of a mirror for your Awakening or Melody of Awakening Dragon. And this effect reads, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by revealing Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. You can only special summon Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon once per turn this way. This card's name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while it is on the field or in the graveyard. And once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. If you use this effect, this card cannot attack. Then we have 2 copies of Dragon Spirit of White. This card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card, and this card is treated as a normal monster while it is in your hand or graveyard. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one spell or trap card your opponent controls and banish it. During either player's turn, if your opponent controls a monster, you can tribute this card and special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. So this card is really good for getting rid of troublesome spell and trap cards or unknown spell and trap cards on your opponent's side of the field. And it's very good comboing with our next card, which is White Stone of Legend. This card allows you to add a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand when this card is sent to the graveyard. And it is also good for White Stone of Ancients, more for your Dragon Spirit of White, because once per turn during the end phase, if this card was sent to the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and add that card to your hand. You can only activate this effect of the White Stone of Ancients once per turn. So basically with White Stone of Ancients, if you have White Stone or Dragon Spirit of White on the field, or was special summoned, you get rid of a spell or trap card, and then you summon this card and then go into a synchro play to synchro summon any monster. Then you can use this effect at the end of your turn to get rid of any other spell or trap cards that may still be on the field, using Spirit of White's effect after reviving it with Ancient's effect. Then we have 3 copies of Sage of Eyes with Eyes of Blue. This card I've considered cutting down to 1 and maybe even cutting out completely with the deck. Just because I find with different cards in, this would be a little bit more of a consistent deck. But this monster's effect reads, when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 level 1 light tuner monster from your deck to your hand, except Sage. You can discard this card, then target 1 effect monster you control and send it to the graveyard. If you do, special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Sage once per turn. So again, this card can be used in conjunction with Dragon Spirit of White's effect to be able to banish spell and trap cards. But again, this card I have also considered maybe cutting down to 1 or cutting out of this deck completely, just to add some other cards that may be able to help make this deck a little bit more consistent. But for now it's at 3. And we have our hand traps. So we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Very standard hand trap that you see in a lot of decks. A lot of main decks and a lot of side decks nowadays. So when a card or effect is activated that includes any of these quick effect, you can discard this card and negate that effect. So if it's either adding a card from the deck to the hand, special summoning from the deck, or sending a card from the deck to the graveyard, and you can only activate the effect of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring once per turn. Then we have our other hand trap for this build anyway, Droll and Lockbird. So if a card or cards is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except in the draw phase, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and for the rest of this turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. So this is a very good card to be able to stop your opponent from searching for cards that would extend their combo or are just part of their combos. And that's why it's in the deck. And then we have 1 copy of Amorphage Goliath. So neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck except Amorphage monsters. And while you control an Amorphage monster, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except Amorphage cards. And once per turn, during your standby phase, you tribute 1 monster or destroy this card. And lastly, we have 1 copy of Archbrave Dragon. So if this card is special summoned from your graveyard, you can banish as many face-up spell or trap cards that your opponent controls. And if you do, this card gains 200 attack and defense for each of the banished cards. Once per turn during the standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there last turn, you can target 1 level 7 or 8 dragon-type monster in your graveyard except Archbrave and special summon it. And that's it for the monsters in this deck. So let's move on to the to the spell cards, not the trap cards. First off, we're going to start with the pretty standard Return of the Dragon Lords at 3. This lets you target 1 level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And if a dragon monster or monsters that you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this is a very good way to be able to get protection from certain cards, and this is also a very good way to be able to revive any monsters in your graveyard that you will want to use to be able to basically get your combos going, or if you're stuck and have nothing on the field, this is a good way to get something on the field and maybe start a combo. Then we have 3 copies of the Melody of Awakening Dragon. This allows you to discard 1 card and add up to 2 dragon-type monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So this card is good for being able to search alternative white dragon and a Blue Eyes, if you don't already have one in your hand, to be able to special summon your alternative white dragon, and basically just go off into any combos. It's a good searcher for the deck. Then we have another extender, Triple Trade-In. This lets you discard one level 8 monster and draw 2 cards. So again, this is good for just extending your combo, or if you have a bit of a bricky hand, you can discard one level 8 monster and draw 2 cards. It acts as a bit of the pot of greed for this deck. Then we have Triple Silver's Cry. This card allows you to target one Dragon-type normal monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. You can only activate one Silver's Cry per turn. Then we have 2 copies of Cards of Consonance. This allows you to discard one Dragon-type tuner monster with 1,000 or less attack and draw 2 cards. So again, another extender, and it's really good for your stones because once you discard them, you still get their effects. So you draw 2 cards, and if you're using it with Stone of Legend, you basically draw 3 because it allows you to search Blue Eyes. And then we have 2 copies of Dragon Shrine. Send one Dragon-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then if that monster is a normal monster, you can send one more Dragon-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only activate one Dragon Shrine per turn. So this card's good with a card like Arcbrave Dragon, because you can send that from your deck to the graveyard, and then use something like Return to be able to bring back Arcbrave and rally off its effect, and basically get rid of any spell or trap cards that your opponent might have flipped up. And then we have 1 copy of Twin Twisters. So this lets you discard a card, then target up to 2 spell or trap cards on the field and destroy them. So again, this is another form of disruption or spell and trap card removal. And finally, we have 1 copy of Burst Stream of Destruction to round off our main deck. And this is, if you control a Blue Eyes White Dragon, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Blue Eyes White Dragons cannot attack the turn you activate this card. Now, I am considering cutting this card out because I don't find it has a lot of use, because there are a lot of different plays that you run that even if you have Blue Eyes on the field, you're not really using that as its effect. And yeah, just I think there's other cards, like I've been saying, that make this deck a little bit more consistent, and basically that's what we all would like to see, is a little bit more consistency with our decks. So yeah, that's it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. So first off, with our extra deck, we are going to start off with our Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. This card is summoned by using 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner normal monsters. When this card is special summoned, Dragon-type monsters you currently control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects until the end of the next turn. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can target 1 normal monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. This card is really good in conjunction with our next synchro monster, which is Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Blue Eyes monster. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. Once per turn during either player's turn, when an effect of a card is active in the graveyard is activated, you can negate the effect. And during either player's turn, you contribute this synchro summoned monster and special summon 1 light dragon type synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position, except for Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but destroy it at the end phase of this turn. So basically what you want to do with this little combo is summon Blue Eyes Spirit and then tag it out to be able to summon your Azure Eyes and basically negate the effect of Spirit that would destroy the monster that you special summoned at the end of the turn by using Silver Dragon's effect, which would move it to the next turn, which at that point doesn't really matter. And again, this extra deck isn't entirely finished. I would consider bumping up Spirit to at least 2 and adding in a couple more monsters. Then we have our 2 Xyz monsters, which are Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon and number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy. Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon is 3 level 8 monsters. You can also Xyz summon this card by using a Galaxy Eyes Xyz monster you control as the Xyz material, except Full Armor Photon Dragon. Xyz materials that were on the previous Xyz monster get added to this one when you Xyz summon. And once per turn, you can target up to 2 equip cards equipped to this card, attach them to this card as Xyz material. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card and target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. And number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, is 2 level 8 monsters. And this card allows you, once per turn, when a spell card or effect is activated on the field that affects, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, attach that card to this card as Xyz material. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can detach 1 material from this card and change the attack to this target, and then perform damage calculation normally. If a face-up Xyz monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 face-up Xyz monster you control and it gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. And that's it for the Xyz monsters. And now to the 2 Link monsters that I have in the extra deck. 1 copy of Proxy Dragon and 1 copy of Borreload Dragon. So Proxy Dragon is just 2 monsters. If a card or cards you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy 1 of your monsters that this card points to instead. And Borreload Dragon is 3+ effect monsters. Neither player can target this card with monster effects. And once per turn, quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and it loses 500 attack and defense. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this. And at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place the opponent's monster to a zone that this card points to and take control of it, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase of that turn. And that's basically it for the extra deck. There are a few cards that I was planning on adding, but didn't really have any time to because I started this before COVID. And then COVID happened and wiped out all of our in-person stuff. And sorry, there is one other card that I have in my extra deck. I just misplaced it before making this video. And that is Michael the Arc Lightsworn. So this card allows you, once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points and then target 1 card on the field and banish that target. When this card is destroyed, you can target any number of other Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into your deck. And if you do, you gain 300 life points for each monster returned. During each of your end phases, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. And this card is 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner light monster. And that ends our extra deck. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I also hope that this gave you some inspiration as to what you can do with Blue Eyes. And like I said, the extra deck in this isn't completely finished, so there are some cards that I would like to add to it, and there are some cards that I would like to add and change in the main deck. But again, this is all personal preference, and without having any real in-person Yu-Gi-Oh events, I'm not really in a rush to finish this. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next one. That's game!